Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Check 1, 2, 3.
It seems really thick though.
What we sound like this?
Kind of sound like that. It's a little muffled.
If you're not first, you're last.
Ricky Bobby. I've never seen that movie. Just because you're moving don't mean you're making traction. In front of the eagle, it just says figure it out, KO.
One of the top roofing companies in the country. The Lord undergirds everything that we do.
See the sales team hit their goal for the year. And Ryan paid the pilot to do some tricks in the air, and I didn't like it. Just so the Krispy Kreme donuts at 10 o'clock at night. What are we doing? But I'm glad we're here.
And I felt great. And right when he gets ready to start going to the bathroom, I start whistling. He goes, Ryan, of what?
Like, I know that joke is late. Don't worry about it, go back to bed. What's the mission of the company? To have a place to where he can provide for families, provide for other people.
We have some high aspirations, I tell you that.
You know, you just said this is a need that I think that we should do.
It's just gonna grow.
I feel like I'm giving Dion Welch a lot of shout outs right now. Another shout out to Dion, right?
But he might just have to be the next guy on the show.
He might have to be.
Come on.
Break it down now, break it down now.
Live. So
Let's go.
we're started already.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, this is it.
No, we're not.
This is it.
Oh, this is it.
This is the meat. Whenever it happens naturally.
You shouldn't even have told us.
Yeah.
You should have just kept us going.
Well, you got to have this little back and forth at the beginning to kind of get comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I can
think-
tell you right now, I'm not comfortable.
Oh, I'm not comfortable either.
He go
This is-
many, he go many different ways. So why don't you point us in the right direction?
Okay. You just want to jump right into it. You don't even want to tell a dad joke.
We start every meeting with a quote.
There you go.
If you're not first, you're last.
Ooh, Ricky Bobby. I don't even know how I know that. I've never seen that movie. I've just heard everybody
Bro,
say
there are
it.
a bunch of people say it.
Never
So
seen
what's your
the
quote?
movie. Oh, just because you're moving don't mean you're making traction.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we'll start with Kyle.
All right.
The question I had wrote down was, just tell us your story. Where did you come from? What did work look like before RBT? What path led you to where you're sitting today?
What did life look like before RBT? Well, I have been here since I was 18. So the only job history that I had was Texas Roadhouse, and I worked at Albertsons on State Line for about, I don't know, 6 months to a year, and then I lied to you because I went to McAllister's. So I went to Roadhouse, Albertsons, and McAllister's, and that was between 16 to 18. Before I could be employed by anybody, I mowed yards with my granddad. He taught us how to work between probably 10 to 16, 17 years old. I was mowing yards with him, and he let me take over his mowing business. And then I realized that was kind of seasonal, and I was still going to school, so that's when I got out of football and started working. But what led me here was, it's easy. For anybody who knows me, I started dating Robert's daughter. And we dated when I was 17, and I came to work here when I was 18. And I think Robert kind of realized that we were getting a little serious. And he said, well, if you're going to get serious, then I need to teach that boy something. And for anybody who knows Robert, that sounds just like him. So he brought me in, and at that point in time, we were a general contractor, just building homes. And so Robert brought me in to clean up his job sites and to kind of oversee the job sites.
Did you and Kyle Trumbull do that together?
Yeah. And he's probably, I think he's 4 or 5 years younger than me, but it was me, Kyle, and Chris. And we would all go on job sites and clean up. And, Robert probably had 6 or 8, 10 houses going at a time. And that was just kind of my main job. They were still in school. So they would do it on the weekend, or they would do it kind of after work. but that would be my full-time job, was just kind of rotating the job sites, keeping them clean. But yeah, we've always been together. So Kyle and them grew up in it, even younger than I did. They might have been 10, 12, 14 years old. And that's kind of how my journey with RBT started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kyle had that on between him and Dylan. He said Robert came home one day and just said, "We're not building houses anymore."
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. Kind of backdrop on that. That was probably 2011. So 2008, we had a big hailstorm in Texarkana. We were building homes. In 2008, there was kind of a recession in the housing industry. It kind of really got it went down really, really good. So the housing it stumbled. We wasn't building as much as we were. And but 2008, a hailstorm came, and we turned into some roofers. I can't tell you how many roofs we did that year. Hundreds and hundreds of residential roofs. And I remember when Robert came up to me and said, "Hey, here's Antonio. He's going to show you how to measure a roof. Get after it. You're going to become a roofer now." And I was like, "Okay, let's go." So that was really a highlight year for us. The next year, a tornado hit Mena, Arkansas. The hailstorm was done. So I moved to Mena, Arkansas, and worked the tornado up there for most of a year. That was the year I got married. And then I came back, and then we were still building houses, and Robert was I think he had just started getting his feet wet in the multifamily industry, the framing world. And in 2011, I just remember him walking in, literally, if you know Robert, he walked in the office and he just told me and Kyle, he said, "Hey, I think we're done building houses. Wrap up what you're doing. We're not going to bid anymore, and we're going full-blown into commercial roofing." And we had never done a commercial roofing job in our lives. And what do we say? We just said, "Okay, let's roll." And he had a plan, and next thing we knew, we were in Michigan and Saginaw getting set up with Duralast, and that was the start of our commercial roofing journey. Literally that simple.
So what was it like going from picking up trash and now you're in the position of leadership?
Well, it's like I had this epiphany one day. And it's a funny story how everything goes full circle. I was cleaning a house that we were building, and today it's Dion Welch's house. He lives in that house now.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't for him at that time, but it's the house that he lives in now with his family. And I'll never forget, I've got to be 17, 18 years old. I'm still trying to figure out life, you know what I mean? And I remember cleaning up at his job site, and it's like it just hit me. And I'm like, if you're going to clean up trash, just be the best clean up trash guy there could be. And it's like, don't leave any stone unturned. Don't leave any piece of trash on any job site. Like, keep them clean. Take care of it like it's your own. And it's like I just started taking care of it like it was my own, to the point to where Gene Newmack, he used to work here. He was our painter at that time. He would get on to me and tell Robert, "Hey, listen, man, your cleanup guy's throwing away all my paint." Like, he's literally throwing away everything. And I was like, "Dude, I'm not throwing away all your paint." And he's like, "Man, you take paint that's got this much in it. That's my touch-up paint. And you're throwing it away. And now I got to go buy a brand new gallon just to touch up the house." And so he got to that point to where I just started taking it seriously. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, this is your job. Do it well and do it right. And I think that's just part of the maturing process too. But, every year we're in uncharted territories here. I couldn't have envisioned having this company like this, doing the amount of revenue we do, having almost 100 employees here, having the office that we have. I could not have envisioned that. And I think Rachel Cherry asked me that yesterday. "How did y'all envision this?" And I said, "I didn't." I said, Kyle and Robert are more of the visionary and hey, the sky's the limit and take off. But what I envisioned is what a company could look like between systems and operations and procedures and kind of what you see when you walk in the door and the onboarding processes and the administrative side. Like, I could visualize that. And I guess the visualization was, what did I want it to look like? And that's just kind of how it's transpired. I mean, I think we just put our best foot forward. We trust the Lord a lot. We work hard. But we wouldn't be in the positions of leadership and the things that we are if it wasn't for the whole team. I mean, it takes every one of us to turn everything that we got here. But to say that we envisioned it from going from a cleanup boy to doing what we're doing now, I'd be lying to you. I didn't see that. And I think now it's easier to see because we're here. But looking 2, 3, 5 years ahead, what does this company look like? It starts getting a little easier to see things, but still don't understand the magnitude of how far we're going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while you're talking, I think it's just a good elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Tell us about the quote on the wall.
The figure it out quote. I feel like I'm giving Dion Welch a lot of shout outs right now. Talking about
He might just have to be the next guy on the show.
He might have to be because whenever we were about 5, 6 years ago, I was still project managing, and Dion was a supervisor at the time. And I think it was between Dion and Logan. I don't know who I'm going to give the proper shout out to here. But obviously as we faced issues in the field, the guys are calling, wanting your advice. How are we going to take care of this? And I guess, unbeknownst to me, that I used to say, well, we'll figure it out. So one day I'm walking through the office, and in Dion's office on his little mini fridge, there's a picture of an eagle flying, and in front of the eagle it just says "Figure it out, KO." And I seen it, and I was like, "What does this mean? Where do y'all get this stuff from?" And they're like, "Dude, that's all you say. Just figure it out. Figure it out." And I said, "I think you left out the first word of that." I said, "We will figure it out." But all they heard was "figure it out."
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I don't know the answers to every problem, and I'm not the smartest guy in the building for sure. But I think that we just have a knack for just saying, hey, we're going to figure out what is the best solution to the problem that we're facing right now. I try to always put the hat on the other person's head and just say, as a customer, what are they looking for? And they're looking for you to give them a solution to the problem. And so that's what we try to be, is we try to be solution finders. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what we're going to come across every day in construction. There are unforeseen things that happen every day. And so it's just like, what can you do to help figure out to alleviate not only the situation for yourself, but it's like you got to find the answer for the customer as well. It's not always about us and getting the best answer, but just finding that middle ground, finding a solution to the problem that we've encountered for that day. And that's just how that quote just became famous around here, is because, hey, we may not have had a system in place for it, but we're going to figure it out. Yeah. And we may not figure it out by ourselves, but as a collective group, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ryan, KO started picking up trash. Now he's in leadership. Where do you fit into that story?
Yeah, well, and I'll go back real quick to the figure it out. It's when you look back at the really inception of the company way before I was here, and you look at what Kyle's given his story on how he started and what he began to do, and even if you go back and you look at Robert's story, you're really able to understand why that figure it out becomes kind of the mantra for RBT and operations. When you start off, let's just say you start off in a more of a lowly position and work your way up, you get some grit, you get some moxie, and you learn how certain necessary skills to get things done. That figure it out, that's a skill. A lot of people can't do that. They can't figure it out and they get stuck. And I think we've been blessed with not only people that know how to have a creative mindset and know how to get things done, but we've been blessed to have such a great example in Kyle and Robert, and KT on what did it take to go from being a very good house builder, home builder, to one of the top roofing companies in the country. And I think a lot of it obviously is the Lord that undergirds everything that we do. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it, as Robert would tell you, it's the school of hard knocks. It's the figuring it out and not being stuck in the issue or just sitting and thinking too long. It's figuring it out, and it's just neat to see how certain things that you go through, how they establish where you are today and how they help you get to where you ultimately want to be, even from being a trash boy to now being one of the main drivers of such a great company. But my story is a little bit different. So it's funny, Kyle's talking about everything coming full circle. I think I met Kyle probably 2011. I was just a kid in high school. My wife met his wife, Susie, when she was in high school. And, so I was trying to find my way. I was going to school. I was working as a lifeguard and as a trainer at this local gym. Got married, found out I was going to have a baby, and I said, man, I need to do something that's a little more lucrative. and while I'm still going to school. Now I'm married and I have a kid on the way. And so one of the things that I did, I don't know if you remember, I reached out to you one day and you had told me that, hey, we're getting together a crew. That's back when you and Kyle were installing the roofs, and y'all were going to go to UCA. And I think it was like, hey, we're going to be, back in that time, I mean, that was 13 years ago. You're looking at making $10 to $11 an hour. You're going to get per diem. You're going to be on the road, and miles are real big. And I'm like, man. And I remember praying about it, and I did not feel that it was right for me at the time. And I remember we had that conversation. So I go work at Domtar, which is a paper mill in town. I'm at Domtar. I'm actually I'm a jack of all trades, right? I'm the gopher as well. Go fetch this, go get that. But I remember getting a phone call on the roof from a general contractor, and he said, Ryan, hey, I'd like to talk to you about doing some estimating and possibly project management. Why don't you come in? A couple weeks later, I got that job, and I'm bidding on a project for the first time, and I needed a roof.
Here?
No. This was at another general contractor in town. Gotcha. And I'm bidding on a commercial project, a general construction project, and I needed a roof. And I knew that Kyle, through church, worked for a roofing company. And so I called Kyle and I said, hey, man, I need a roof on this building that I'm bidding. Can I send you the information? He said, yeah. And he said, Ryan, you're doing this now? And I said, yeah, man. He said, oh, okay. Well, literally a week later, he calls me back and he says, hey, Ryan, me and Robert would like to meet with you. We're kind of looking into a few things, and we'd just like to meet with you. So I'll never forget, we went and ate at the new Golden Chick on Richmond Road, not too far from the mall. And we're sitting outside and we're talking, and basically Robert offers me a job, and this was end of 2015. And I remember going home praying about it, and I felt a yes to pursue, the position and career at RBT, and I started January 4th. And that was back when we were in Robert's Red Building.
Oh yeah.
It was the pool house, ex-gym, workout area. That building was all things, but that was our office. And at one point, me and Kyle shared a desk, which is similar to the setup that you're seeing now. So I sat right here, and Kyle sat across from me, and we shared a desk. And I think downstairs we may have had 2 more people, maybe 3, working in that building, and 2 people upstairs. So going from there and coming to here, when you just walk into the building, I mean, it's hard not to still marvel at it and just say, man, I couldn't have dreamed this up. And, but, knowing the story of where Kyle came from, where Robert came from, where the company has come from to where we're at now, it's nothing short but miraculous. And I think that's one thing that, of all the places that I've worked when I was younger and all the businesses that we've seen as we're in this industry, I think one thing that makes us stand out opposed to the people is our belief in God. Our foundation is very intricate to who we are today, and that's biblical principles, and it's a belief that God is going to direct our steps. I think that undergirds everything that we do, and it motivates us to figure it out, to work hard, because despite not knowing the answer, we have trust in the Lord. That influences how we treat people, how we navigate issues, and I think that is a big thing that contributes to our success and where we're at today.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out where to go from here because we jumped through two of them just naturally.
You can talk about anything.
Well, one of them I had written down was walk me through something that you helped build. Oh, no, that's not it. Walk me through a moment that you stepped into something bigger than your knowledge base. Like Dylan talked about, Kyle Trumbull walked in and gave him Washington, D.C., and he was like, just kind of wide-eyed at how big the job was. And and he had just come from another job. I forget where he said it was, but it was really cold and having to learn how to roof in the cold with the system he was doing. So where did you have to start really figuring it out?
I feel like that has been consistent. I feel like you never get a chance to become comfortable. And that's one thing I like. I don't want to be comfortable. I think there's a big difference between content and being complacent. I am content with where we're at now, but I don't want to be complacent because, we've been given this to steward, and, and how we steward this, is how we're measured. And it's like, God, obviously we had to start small, and if we're never faithful with little, we'll never be entrusted with much. And so God has given us a lot now to steward. And it's like, what are we going to do with what God gave us? You know what I mean? And so I think that's a big thing that kind of drives us around here is what not to be complacent is because we've been given this gift of stewardship and all the things that we have here and all the employees and all the things that we do. And it's like, you better steward it rightly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a healthy fear of the Lord to be able to do those things. And so I think everything that we do is like stepping into something new. It's like yesterday I sat in meetings for 3 hours just talking to the bankers and talking about working capital and how, with our new goals on where we're going next year, how we're going to be able to handle all of these things, and meetings next week with the insurance companies and bonding companies to go through things that we're growing into and higher stature. And it's like I don't even really deal with the roofing side so much on a day-to-day basis anymore. It's more or less you're dealing with the business side of it. And that's uncharted territory every year. It's like you think that you get it figured out, that whole quote there, and then you grow, on the rate that we're growing right now, 25, 30% a year. And it's like, well, then you cross over to across another bridge, and you're like, okay, now you've got other things you have to figure out. And, obviously we have mentors that are around us. We have people that obviously we lean on for guidance, but not Robert, not me, not Kyle. None of us in this building have ever been here. And so we're trying to naturally figure things out as we go. A lot of stuff is common sense, right? But I think a lot of it is healthy partnerships. Where we're going and what we're doing, it takes partnerships all the way around. And so I think there is, to Ryan's point earlier, is we have to trust the Lord a lot. But there's a reliancy on a lot of people, and I think you always hear this thing, sometimes you can be loyal to a fault. But it's like, I think that's one thing that we can pride ourselves on is we're pretty loyal. With our roofing crews, with our subcontractors, with our vendors, with our manufacturers, with our bankers, with our insurance companies, our bonding companies, like we're pretty loyal. And so we try to ride with that and lean on them too for advice, for their expertise. They deal with other people than just us. We had our CPA in the meeting yesterday, and the meeting didn't even have anything to do with that. But he said, hey, you know what, I'm going to help you navigate these next avenues that you're going because I've been there. I've got clients that are bigger than you, and I know how they did it. So let me help you cross this bridge or get over this next hurdle, to set you up for success. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can see is what the Lord has been able to orchestrate for us is He's given us a lot of great partners, and we wouldn't be able to do it without them. And that's not even going to the employee level. I mean, the employees here, man, they make everything so easy for us. But just the outside partnerships that we have, the people that have come into our lives and are able to speak into them and have the knowledge base that they have to help us make the decisions that we need to cross that next obstacle that's in front of us. So I would say that's ever growing. It's ever changing. I wish there was one moment I could say we got there and we're like, oh, that's it. But I feel like it's almost every few weeks. It's like we're crossing a new hurdle. Mm-hmm. And maybe it wouldn't be that much if we didn't have such aspirations to keep growing. We just stay the same and everybody could be okay with it. But I just feel like the Lord has given us more to handle and steward rightly, and so we're taking off.
I was thinking about when you're talking about these partnerships, it's so crazy that how things happen so in a timely manner. Mm-hmm. With really not you even forcing anything, and that's when we go. I mean, I know you attribute it back to the Lord, but there's so many different things, whether it be from getting awarded a job or running into a client at a prospective client that in a random area or airport or somewhere. or getting a partnership, whether it be from a bank or a banker or an accountant or some type of other type of business partner, consultant. All of these things happen in a timely manner, and sometimes you just look at each other like, I can't make this stuff up. I mean, and there are so many stories of where timely things have happened and where people have come alongside us to help run. And it's just pretty neat to see.
Well, I mean, a big example of that is just this week. Obviously, the sales team hit their goal for the year. You know, the funny thing about us is we set a goal, and then we get a quarter, a third of the way in, and we change our goal. Because we're like, oh, man, we're on trajectory to go past that, so let's just go.
Let's knock it up.
You know what I mean? So if we make X goal, we're like, no, we're going to do better than that, so let's just go ahead and change the goal right now. And so I think we did that probably in March or April this year. And so sales team would have hit their goal about 3 weeks ago for the year on the original goal, but they're still almost to the new goal. Well, as of Monday or Tuesday, they hit their actual goal in sales for the year. So big shout out to those guys because that was a huge number for them to get to. Well, on the operational side, we can project out revenue for the year. And so we could see that we were going to be really, really close to the new goal. We knew we had already eclipsed the original goal. But for some reason, sometimes me and Ryan both, we can get a little overzealous. And we'll be like, no, we're going to get there, we're going to get there. And then life happens, and then weather happens, and then construction happens, and something changes along the way of the things that we can't control. And here we are, December 5th. Well, we sat down yesterday, and I was like, dude, we're so close to this goal. Are we going to make it or are we not? And then like 2 days ago, he's talking about timeliness. We got awarded a job. And being able to get awarded a job and get boots on the ground to start 1 in 3 weeks is almost impossible, especially when you got Christmas in the middle of it. So we didn't know if we was going to be able to do anything for it this year. But it was a pretty large job. And anyway, Ryan made a phone call yesterday, was able to jump through some hoops, and we're going to be able to get on it before the end of the year, and it's going to eclipse our second goal. So we officially, both this week, the sales team and the revenue team, hit both of our goals this week with only about 3 weeks left to go on the second goal, right? Call it our stretch goal.
Yep.
I think that's what we came to the terminology with the other day. We have a realistic goal and we have a stretch goal, but we're going to hit our stretch goal. But just to tie into the timeliness of not only did we win the job on the same week, was we able to find it in a region that we was able to actually mobilize on to get the work done. And I mean, you just can't make some of this stuff up on how it works out.
And I think that is really a great picture that you can paint for kind of the whole company because, you know, obviously we have favor with the people that we work with, right? But at the same time, you can't just sit there and sit and just kind of wallow in the problem or sit and try to, you know, man, oh me, what are we going to do? I don't know if we can hit it. No, what did we do? We were proactive. We got on the phone. We talked to people. We had great conversation. We met them where they're at and met in the middle, and worked really hard on the phone, making phone calls yesterday to push to get something done. And lo and behold, it happened. But you know, so many times, and really seeing Robert as an example of it, you know, not being defeated before you even make a phone call because you assume the situation isn't going to go in your favor. Call, ask the question, what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone's going to say, man, no, I can't. Yeah. Call, ask, don't have a defeated mindset, work really hard to try to push to do it. And a lot of times, more than not, we have favor with the people that we're working with or working for, and a lot of things tend to fall into place. And I think that is a perfect picture of what seems to happen regularly here. As we figure it out, we have God's grace merited in with that, and a lot of doors open.
Yeah, and to piggyback off something he mentioned with Robert, do not ever walk into a meeting with Robert, and when he asks you, have you called or got an answer about this or that or whatever it is, and tell him no, or act like you haven't called, or yeah, they told me no. Robert is going to 99 out of 100 times pick up that phone right in front of you. He's going to call that guy.
They're going to answer.
They're going to answer. And they're going to give him a different answer than you told Robert they gave you. 99 out of 100, I promise you. And it might be 100 out of 100. And he's just like, told you. And he'll stop.
It's done.
It's just like, it's done. And I'm just like, I'm telling you guys, don't ever do it. and Robert's not here all the time, but the company that we have now flows directly from him and Barbie. And that's the way the anointing has always worked, and that's the way God's anointing works. And so even though they're not here on a day-to-day, the culture and who we are is because of them. We take their values and their work ethics and everything that they have done over the period since 2002. I think this company was started, so we're 23 years in. It's like we took all of those, and even though they're not here, and they've been instilled throughout the company. And thank God for, I don't think anybody could outwork Robert, and if this is going to be on the clip, Robert is getting older, so he can't work it as hard as he used to. It got said yesterday in the meeting at lunch. But you'd be hard pressed to keep up with Robert even, at 56 nowadays. He still gets up early, hits the ground running, but he instilled that work ethic in his boys and myself as well. To be able to pull me in at 18 and say, I'm going to teach that boy something. And if we get to something here in a little bit, I got a funny, I don't want to say it right now, but I got something funny I could share about that, him bringing me in. Because at 18, I was just a punk kid, I didn't know nothing. I thought I knew everything. I wasn't saved for sure, and I wasn't polished. I was still rough around the edges all the way around. I think we all are when we were 18, but he's done a lot of good things, to instill into us, and that we've been able to instill throughout the whole company. And I just want to make sure that it, because they're not here on a day-to-day and nobody sees them, everything that's here is because of them.
Absolutely. And even just looking at, it's a really good feeling to go back and look at what Robert and Barbie have built, and then look at the level of trust that they give everybody up here.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a big deal that we don't take lightly. But when I started back in 2016, it was January 4th, I believe, around that time. Robert still had a chair. It was a recliner, and it was right by my desk.
A red chair.
A red chair. So he was right. He saw everything I was doing, and talk about pressure being on. Working under some duress. That was it every day. But we definitely attribute a lot of who we are today, and the figure it out mentality, and the hustle mentality, and just whatever what's the scripture, that blunt scripture that he always says, if you find something to do it with all your might, or with your hand, something. Make sure you cut that.
Ecclesiastes thing.
Make sure you cut that part, because I butchered it. But
you have to cut a lot of stuff out of here. Right now.
No.
But no, that was the red chair was such a hit that Robert wanted to move it to the new office. He literally wanted to put it in the foyer of the Texar Metals building now, whenever we moved in there.
It's not there now.
No, it was never moved.
Oh, okay.
Barbie wouldn't let him, because it didn't blend in with the interior design. But he wanted to move that chair. But literally, our office hours at that time were 6:30 to 3:30, and that was our hours that we picked because we wanted to get off, because we were real gym rats at the time. Well, we wanted to get off in an early enough time to go to the gym and be home, because we had kids. Mm-hmm. And you walked in at 6:31. Robert was sitting in that red chair. And you had to walk right past him, like this door. The chair was sitting right here. And it was literally right next to Ryan's desk. Like, it was touching his desk. And it was a garage.
Yeah.
I mean, we were working out of a garage.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to just see, like, we went from Robert's actually house, like his little shop. He had an office in his garage, to the detached garage, which was the makeshift pool house, gym, hangout room for his kids. That's what it was built for. And then when we got our building down there in Clear Springs, man, we thought we were uptown. I was like, boy, this is nice.
Everybody had their own office. You got 2 monitors,
That was in 2017, and I think every year we added on to that building. And then we started putting outbuildings out there. Then we had porta potties out there, and I said, what are we doing? But that's one thing that Robert and Barbie have always been very good at, is their bandwidth. They will expand as far as they need to before they take on something else. And they've always reinvested back into this company. Like, they don't take all the money. They reinvest everything they have back into this. And I think that's a big attribute to why we've been able to do what we've been able to do, is because they have reinvested everything they have made back into this company since they started it. And that's just been their mindset. They have no problem reinvesting in anything. If you sit in a meeting with them, And let's just talk about for 26, software development. Pretty high penny to pay for a software development. And he literally asked 2 questions about it. And he said, okay, sounds good. He's like, I'll reinvest into anything for the company as long as it makes sense, right? I was like, but that's the level of trust that Ryan was talking about. Like, they trust the process. They trust the people they have in place. And I don't ever want to take that lightly. Just because they ask questions doesn't mean they don't trust you. They just want to validate some of the things that you're saying. But, I mean, even you can attest, you hardly ever see him. I seen him in your office the other day, so I don't know.
He visited me for a few minutes.
Yeah. So we were all in a meeting, and I just stepped out, and I seen him in your office, and I was like, oh, well, look, Robert's hanging out, you know, or going. He wasn't just hanging out. He was probably talking about something, but.
He was, but he went and visited, I think, everybody on my side of the office. He just said, well, I'm going to go hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
And he did.
He must have had a break in his day. You know, but that's cool, though, to see him, you know, the owner, walk in and just, hey, I want to come visit with you, talk with you.
Well, and I know everybody appreciates. You know, you might get a little bit nervous. You don't see him very often, and he sits down in front of you. But then when he walks out, you're like, he just came in here today, hang out.
He probably had one thing that he wanted to talk about, and the rest of it, he just wanted to talk to you about life.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, he's a good man, and I get the privilege of calling him my father-in-law. And I don't want to discredit my mother-in-law either. I mean, she plays a huge role into everything we do. She is a complete servant. I mean, she serves everybody. If we have a cookout day here or an appreciation day or the Christmas party, I mean, that's all she wants to do is serve. She does not want to be acknowledged in any way. She wants to help people with their, you know, setting up decorations or serving their food or fixing their coffee or whatever it is. And she has a true servant's heart, you know. And so the unfortunate part of them having to step out of the day-to-day, because they were once upon a time in the day-to-day. But the unfortunate side of it is they had tragedy in the family is why they had to step out from the day-to-day, you know, when they lost their son, Chris. And so it kind of, I don't want to say forced them out, but it made them realize that, like, there's more to life than just work. And Robert's a worker, so try telling him there's more to life than just work. But that was his words. He came up with it and said, you know, there is more to life than just me working, you know, because he had 3 children, obviously lost his oldest son in a tragic accident. But it allowed them to see, it just shows you how God's goodness can be in anything. You know, if they could go back and change it, I bet they would. I know they would. But at the same time, they're like, hey, this is what's happened. God, we still trust you. God, you're still good. Allow us to see the goodness in what you're doing right now, and what do you want us to do because of that? And because of that, it has spurred so many other things. It's like we have one of our organizational KPIs is missions. And those missions are based out of their heart. And that's more or less the outreach programs they want to do, the charitable donations that they do within the community, you know, and we don't broadcast all of those things. You know, we don't usually put them on our social media or platforms or anything, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, but we usually don't. Robert and Barbie like to keep that more low-key, but because of that accident, you know, they've went out and sponsored specific organizations that played a huge role in their family's life during hardships and times that they've had in their life. And they sponsor a lot of people in outreach programs and in homes that are basically taking people in that have an addiction or a problem, that have been on the streets or are looking for help. And so, and out of that, look at some of the good people, without naming some of them. I think we have probably 4 or 5 people who have come and graduated out of that program. And I think even if we just all went around this room, we could say, man, them are some of the best guys I've ever been around.
They are.
They're a delight to walk into the building, to see them, to see their faces light up. You can see that God has touched them, changed their lives. And, you know, Robert and Barbie get to play a very small role in obviously helping support that program. And we've seen the benefit of having 5 high-level people come in here. And that's been a blessing to see all of that. So you can see tragedy forcing them to step out, but seeing God has a plan and being able to plant all these guys here, unbeknownst to us, how it was all going to work out. But that's just God's goodness over our lives and what He's doing for us.
Yeah.
You know, I've been sitting here thinking about, you know, talking about figuring it out and where we were, where we're at today. Pretty funny story. At least I think it's funny. me and Kyle, we used to drive in maybe the 4 states area. So, now we fly all over the country. We used to drive maybe to Fayetteville, Arkansas, maybe DFW area, Shreveport, Little Rock, places like that. Well, we go up to Fayetteville to look at 2 buildings that we were awarded, and part of that agenda for that week was to go into a city council meeting with the board, and one of the topics is going to be the roofing, and that might have been, I think, maybe a February, maybe sometime in January, right, not too far removed from when I started. So we're sitting in there. There's a big, big desk with a lot of people sitting at it, and right in front of us, a lot of people from the public in this meeting, in the audience, and I'm one of them. So is Kyle. It's getting down the list close to the next agenda being the roofing. About that time, Kyle Osborne, I gotta go to the bathroom.
We didn't know when the agenda was. We were just on the agenda.
And I'm sitting there on pins and needles, and he leaves.
Oh, no.
And then they're like, okay, they're getting ready for that. And I'm in my head, I'm like, what am I going to say? I'm going to have to just spitball this thing. I'm winging it. Holy cow. This is, he comes in at just the right time and takes the reins. But, Kyle, he's pretty good at doing that, man. You'll be put sometimes in a stretched situation. But when you need him, he's always there, and I'll pat you on the back today, and he always comes through for sure. But it's really neat looking at going back. We used to travel 4 states area, did a lot of local things. Just this year alone, looking back at the recap, we've been in 23 states. Mm-hmm. We've been in 23 states. We've installed over 3 million square foot of roofing material. It is amazing to see 4 corners of the country. We've been there, and it's really inspiring to see where we're going to be in 2026. But we're going from driving to flying everywhere, from roofing in Little Rock, Arkansas, or DFW to Manhattan, Eugene, Oregon, Miami, San Diego,
Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. It is incredible, and two, roofing, it has really exposed us to a lot. Almost every major city in the United States, somebody in this office has been to and seen. The people that you meet along the way, and even on, we get to see a lot of things, even on these military bases, that the general public didn't get to see. Yeah, and it is just really neat on where roofing would take you, and how fun and exciting it is. And the funny part is, nobody woke up and one day and just said, "Hey, I really want to be a roofer. I'm going to be a roofer." But I love being a roofer. I love working for this company and a roofing company, and it's been a lot of fun.
You told a story the other day about you met somebody at church or somewhere, family friend of old, and they asked you how you were doing or what you were doing for work. And
oh yeah,
what was that?
Yeah. So, and this person meant well, but it's always,
it's just funny because it's the
assumption
of the roofing.
So.
Right.
I really, a lot of people do not know the actual magnitude of what we do, and that's okay. But I remember, this has been a few years ago, and this just gives you an idea of what people think that we do here. Mm-hmm. And it was someone that I'd graduated with. It was their mom, and I ran into her one day, and she's like, "Ryan, what are you doing these days?" And I said, "Well, I work for a roofing company," and her mind immediately, she said, went to, "Oh man, well, at least it pays the bills," almost like a sympathy type of, like, "I feel sorry for you. At least you're getting by and you got what you need," type of thing. She didn't mean any ill will, but it's just funny, like the general assumption about working for a roofing company. What does that mean? And if anyone passes by this building or steps foot in this building or were to see our operation, it's funny, one of the newer guys the other day, working at RBT, working for this company, sometimes there's not enough hours in the day, and when everything's pumping on all cylinders, it's going. And he came in, he said, "Man, it's like the New York Stock Exchange around here when everything's in full force." And I just laughed. I'm like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is so much going on such a grand scale, magnitude." Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have an idea of what we do, and not only what we do, but where we've been and where we're going.
Yeah, I've gotten the same similar comments. Someone asked me, or they see the logo, and it's like, "I must get hot on them roofs." Which, you know, I was a supervisor. It did get hot on the roofs, but yeah, it's
So, you know, we used to be pretty low key. And if you ask my grandma, when I see her at holidays, she still asks me if we're building houses. And I'm like, we do not build houses. We haven't built houses in over 10 years. But it just kind of shows you that some people still don't understand what you do, even my own family. But nowadays, when you mention RBT, all they say now is, you talking about that big old building by OT's?
the big box building.
Yeah, that big building. And I'm like, yeah, that's us. And so it's kind of like we're not as low key as we were because the building popped up. And I don't know if anybody even knew what it was, but when the signs went on the side of the building, I guarantee you everybody was like, that's a roofing office. Like, I remember when they called Robert one day, somebody called Robert driving by, and we built the shop first. And they thought that was our office. They said, hey, man, I seen y'all's new office popped up, and we hadn't even started on this yet.
Right.
And he was like, no, we ain't even built the office yet. He goes, that's our shop. And so it's just kind of just shows you, because you go from that building, and then you've seen this nice building go up, and then obviously then when you've seen this come up, it's like there's no missing you now. And that's not a bragging point. It's just like we literally we've already outgrown this space.
Yeah.
We have multiple people already piling in offices, and I know by next year, by the end of 2026, we will have reached max capacity in here. So 27 is going to be a year of expansion that we're going to have to look at what we're doing. And if we would have only have known, right? You asked the question earlier, it's like, you know, how do you navigate, you know, the things that are, I guess, how do you navigate the challenges coming forward and, you know, where's the future? And it's like if we would have known that we was going to outgrow that in that short amount of time, we would have made the building bigger. So it's like we don't always know what's ahead of us and how big things are going to grow and how fast they're going to grow. But I had a funny story kind of piggybacking off what he just said a while ago. You ran the job in Eugene, Oregon. Who was the contracting officer on that? Was his name Steve?
I think so.
Yeah, Steve. So that's when we had there was a Ryan, I think, was moving in. He wasn't the project manager. I think he was moving into an ops manager, director of operations at that point in time. And then we had our PM that went with us. And we're doing training. And I told him, and Ryan knows what I'm about to say, we were going into the meeting, and I just said, all right, guys, I'm not going to say anything. Y'all two take it, run with it. I'm here if you need me. So we sit down with Steve, and I don't know if it's a pre-construction meeting. I don't know what meeting we're going to, but it's in Eugene, Oregon at the federal courthouse. And we sit down, and again, I told y'all, I'm going to be quiet. And I'm always got a lot to say, so it's hard for me to be quiet anyway. So I sit down, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Ryan and Chris are sitting there, and he starts the meeting, and nobody says anything. And I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, is nobody going to say anything?
I think I was in there.
Was you in this meeting?
I think I remember that.
Okay,
yeah.
You may have been. And then finally Steve looks up and goes, all y'all don't talk at once. And I'm like, all right, I got it. And I just took off. And I was just like, and when we got out of the meeting, I'm like, guys, that was y'all's time to shine. Like, I was going to let y'all have it. And nobody said a word. So it was just kind of one of those. And now you come full circle again. And
Was this was well before the job?
this was before
Yeah.
the job started. Had
Maybe
to
I
have been.
wasn't there.
Some
but
type of pre-investigation
Yeah.
side.
I remember being in a meeting with all of you guys with them.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a similar scenario, but I wasn't at that one then.
No, we had plenty of meetings on that job.
I
That was one of the most difficult jobs we have done to this date. And I remember the architect came back in and said, this is not a roofing project, this is a facade project. It's one of those like feather in the cap type jobs, because that is still to this date one of the coolest things I think we've ever done. It happened in the middle of COVID. It happened in the middle of the BLM riots. That building got on the map to be rioted how many times? We were only a couple hours from Portland, who they had taken over the city.
There were a couple of times they told us to get off the roof
Yeah.
because they had a planned protest. People were already gathering around. I was like, yeah, I want to be able to leave.
Yeah.
Well, and then you had the fires. You had the fires at one
Oh,
point,
yeah.
and you had all the smoke.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember that.
That was eerie.
So those are the things that you get to deal with that have nothing to do with roofing. Like you think like, oh, just go do your job, get the roof done, get out. Well, then it's all these other things that you get a part of it, and you're like, man, I didn't sign up for all this. I didn't know all of this was going to happen. And I remember being, I don't know what are the chances of this. I remember we had a job in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we had already started, and I'm getting on a plane to Minneapolis, and everybody's phone's going off with the whole George Floyd incident. And I'm flying into Minneapolis where he was just killed. And I'm like, oh, snap. So I get off the plane, drive to St. Paul. I get up on the roof probably the next day, and I look in the distance, and I just see fire and smoke everywhere, and the precinct's burning. And it's like, that's when the riots started. So it's like all of these things are unplanned, right? It's like you couldn't have made the timing of these things up where we are, but we are literally in Minneapolis when all of this stuff is going down. And then I remember being in Philadelphia.
We had the curfew.
Yeah, we had the curfew in Philadelphia, and then there was a bomb threat, or somebody threatened to.
They found, so that ties into.
Sorry, the camera on Ryan that's also taking the audio ran out of storage.
So are we
We
good
were
now?
talking about.
Yeah, talking about, are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're going.
Oh, yeah, so Philadelphia, so the supervisor at the time was staying downtown, and there was a block or two away, they had found a van that was filled full of explosives.
Yep.
And we happened to be there looking at that job, and because of that, all of Philadelphia was on a curfew for like 6, 7 o'clock.
Right.
And so just, that's what my son goes, 6, 7, if I hear that again.
I told my kids the other day, you do
Don't
that
you-
again, I'm whooping you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. But
Come on.
you know, it's just it's pretty fascinating to see. I mean, we flew into, there was one job 60 miles off the coast of San Diego on a base there where the SEALs train. Me and Kyle are taking a private charter that's registered with the island to fly. And I mean, you're just sitting there and you're like, wow. We went from garage, office, local, 4 states area. Now we're going to roof and completely remodel an entire building on an island, 60 miles off the coast of San Diego for the Navy.
That's infested with great whites.
So,
Just so we throw it out there.
You know.
And then Ryan paid the pilot to do some tricks in the air, and I didn't like it. That's all I'm gonna tell you. I was like, we did not pay you to do this.
That's a funny story. We got a ton of funny stories, but that guy, you know, I'm a little smaller, and just a little bit, and I'm sitting in the co-pilot chair, and he looks and he goes, "Hey, watch this." I said, "What are we doing?" He said, "I'm about to scare those guys." And I said, "No." I said, "I'm those guys. That's me too." And man, we're right over the runway, and he turns the plane completely sideways and dips down, and it just we
and
we
I was
almost,
in the middle of the back. I remember.
we almost lost our lunch. But it is.
We got that on video somewhere.
I have it on video.
But I could go to a lot of stories, like even being in Grand Rapids, Michigan during COVID. We were staying downtown. They were boarding up the entire downtown, and there was a curfew again. You couldn't be out past whatever time it was. I'm not going to say the time because of that. But just looking down, we're doing roofing in other parts of the country, and it looks like a ghost town everywhere that we're at. There was literally times we would go fly out of Dallas, and there would be 5 people on a plane. I mean, you could sit anywhere you wanted to, and 2 or 3 of them would be us, and there'd be 1 or 2 other people walking through the terminals, and everything is shut down. There is nothing open. You know, that obviously didn't last long, but we had these papers that we got from the government. What's the word I'm looking for? What was the
Something worker. It was a not necessary worker, but it was.
It doesn't matter. I'll figure out what it is. But we had a piece of paper that allowed us to basically go and get on these planes and travel because everything was restricted. I wish I knew what the word was right now, but I can't think of what it was. But just bouncing around. There was a cool story. We were working in Warner Robins Air Reserve Base, not Warner Robins, Homestead Air Reserve Base in Florida. And we were working on the active flight line. And there was 2 buildings inside the fence. And first day we got there, you got to do all kind of training just to be out there. And they had 2 jets that were housed inside this building. And there was literally like a stoplight out there. It was red, yellow, green. And they said anytime that light goes green, it's full blown, it's not a drill. They have 3 or 4 minutes to stop everything they're doing to have that jet in the air. First day we're on the job. Can't make this stuff up. That light is sitting on the corner of the building right there, and we're working, and the siren starts going off, and the light goes from red to green. And I'm like, this is a joke. I'm like, there's no way the first day we're here that this thing, and because I asked them when we were getting ready, they said, how often does it happen? They said, it's not very often. First day, it's green. So we all have to get off the roof within like a minute. Get off the roof. 2 or 3 minutes later, these jets just come out of this building, and in 3 or 4 minutes, they're off the ground. And so, and it's the loudest thing you ever heard. But they come back, I don't know, 30 minutes later, we can't do anything until they come back. And then we're asking, I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, is this a real drill? No, this is a real drill. And they had to intercept something coming from Cuba. Something was coming from Cuba, and those 2 jets went to intercept it. In 30 minutes, they were back on the ground like nothing ever happened, and we go back to work. So it's just some of those cool stories. Just I would never see any of these things if we weren't in the roofing business, working with some of the clients and customers that we get to work with. Being in Manhattan, being in Boston, you know, Ryan's got he really likes cannolis. And one thing he really likes is donuts.
Now, don't get me on that story.
So
Let me tell you, this guy.
I can tell you another quick story.
You know, every time I've gone anywhere with Ryan, we got to find a place for the sweet.
I've got some videos as proof. I've had him hidden in the dungeon just so when he tells everybody who's the worst, is it Kyle or is it Ryan, it's always Ryan, okay?
You lead me to water, I'm going to drink.
Yeah. So this time I did lead him to water. So I will be the one that says that I did lead him to water on this one. But we're in, I think we're in Atlanta, Georgia, coming home from Warner Robins. And we eat dinner. It's just me and Ryan. And he's driving, but I have the navigator going off. And he pulls in, and he thinks we're going to the hotel, and we're going to Krispy Kreme donuts at 10 o'clock at night. And he looks at me with this look. If you know Ryan, he's got this look. He looks at you like, what are we doing, but I'm glad we're here, that thing. We pull in, they're coming off hot off the press, dude. I'm like, if you buy a dozen, you get one free or
It's
whatever.
like a beacon. You pull up, and it's this Krispy Kreme sign that's 60 foot tall and shines as bright as the Eiffel Tower. And
They're making them fresh hot at night.
They're making
Yeah.
them fresh at night. It's 10 o'clock at night, and they are coming off the press hot. I don't know if they're 24 hours or what, but we pull in. We each get a donut, and then we buy a dozen because we're flying out the next morning. So we go back to the hotel. We're getting ready for bed. We lay the box in the middle of the nightstand in between the 2 beds.
Easy access.
Okay. So we probably ate 2 that night each. So I guarantee, but one of them was outside the box.
I
So
had
there
about
was
a half.
there is easily 8 to 10 donuts still left in the dozen. Okay. I wake up in the morning, take a shower. Ryan's getting in the shower after I'm done, and I'm dressed. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grab a donut. I open the box, Sean, and there's none left. Not a single one. And I'm like, Ryan, did you eat all of these donuts? He said, no, there ain't no way I ate all of them. I said, there's none left. I didn't eat one. He literally, in the middle of the night, ate between 8 to 10 donuts.
Bad times.
And I don't know, and he will deny it.
How'd you feel the next day?
Well, you know, that's the thing. I woke up and I felt great. I don't know. It's still a mystery today. I mean, there's a lot of different things that could
It's
happen.
not a mystery. Ryan, if we could go into a lot of funny stories, Ryan has a tendency to do certain things at night that he can't remember. So he's got a long history of traveling with different people, so it's not just me. There's only one. I look for things in common denominators, and Ryan is a constant common denominator.
Well, you know, I don't really do some of these things anymore.
You know, he hasn't.
I've grown since then.
This has been a long time.
Yeah.
As long as he's not overly tired, he's okay. But we've got some funny stories. And like he will even prep himself like way in the past. Like I'm almost positive you traveled with your father-in-law one day and you prepped him and said, "Hey, listen, if this happens, don't worry about it."
Yeah. So
And it happened.
Cat's out of the bag, Charlotte. Every now and then I sleepwalk a little bit, okay? And I sleep talk, you know. And I don't know if I want to share this one for the camera, but you know, and I think I'm tired, or it could be the sugar intake. I don't know, but maybe a combination of both at nighttime. But there's one time in particular with Kyle, and I was just spot on with the timing on this.
More
thing.
than one time.
He gets up and he's going to the bathroom, and right when he gets ready to start going to the bathroom, I start whistling. I don't know any of this is going on, and he's sitting there and
It's the middle of the night.
he makes sure he makes sure he's covered real quick. He goes, "Ryan," and he says that he don't
answer me.
He goes, "Finish." I start whistling again. He goes, "Ryan," and he goes, I say something along the lines of what? And hey, are you quit whistling? Are you all right? And I say something like, "I'm fine."
No, you told me, you said, "Don't worry about it, go to bed." That's what he told me. So when I knew, I've got a history of this, so I kind of walk out of the bathroom and I'm like, "Ryan," and he don't say nothing. And I'm like, I know that joke is awake. So I'm walking back to the bed. I said, "Ryan, you're whistling at me." And he goes, "Don't worry about it, go back to bed."
we know the drill. We know what's happening.
I already know. I don't pay it no mind anymore. But I'm like, "Hey, dude, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. We're good." I can tell you 100 stories from traveling. It's been fun. He's been the guy I've traveled with the most. And so it's been fun. We've had a lot of good memories. We can laugh a lot about stuff. But, it's just being able to be just in the roofing industry, to see the things that we've been able to see, to create the partnerships. And, we still are a family business. You know what I mean? We've just grown and added a lot of family members to our tree here. And it's been a blessing. Man, it's been so fun. I could tell 100 stories sitting here right now of stuff that we've done on trips, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just the hilarious moments from who's gonna be the one that picks out dessert tonight, or what's going on in the room. That's and everything is all G version, so there's no bad going on like that. So don't try to paint a picture that it's not, because we do behave ourselves, because we're accountable to the Lord. I'm not accountable to all these other things. So. Like I said, it's just fun, man. I enjoy coming to work every day. I do not ever get tired of doing this. The real job starts when I get home. That's where the real job starts. And my wife is quick to remind me of that whenever I get to the house. And I'm sure every one of our wives are quick to remind us that getting up and leaving and going to work is a privilege. You know what I mean? Why don't you stay home with these kids all day and tell me what you think? And so
I couldn't do it. It's
big
hard.
shout out to the moms there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really like to think about, and it's pretty cool to observe, not only, we've talked about the footprint of the company. The company has grown and expanded, and so has our roles in this room, but it's really cool to see across the board how individuals within the company have expanded too. Sean, like you, for example, you started off being a project supervisor, and now look where you're at. There's numerous people in here that started off as maybe a project supervisor, or maybe in the maintenance department. Now they're running jobs or project managers. Maybe they're a director of a department within RBT. So people have grown. People inside departments have grown. Leaders have emerged, and it's really cool to see. And not only that, but it's also cool to see that the quality of life that everybody has at RBT.
Right.
From across all departments, when people are able to provide very well for their families, you just hear people talking around, "Hey, we're going to go take this trip, me and my family, or we're looking at building this house, or we're looking at doing X, Y, and Z." That's a pretty cool feeling to see that everyone across the board is being taken care of. And I know if we take pride in that, I know Robert and Barbie take pride in that as well. But that's just really cool to think about and to observe.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we got into the building our core values and our mission statement out, we sat down with Robert and Barbie and asked them, summarize to us what's the mission of the company. And basically, in Robert's few words, he basically just says that he wants to have a place to where he can provide for families. And just to what Ryan just said, it's like, I know Robert and Barbie, they love to hear things like that, because they just want to have a place that they can host and to be able to provide for other people. It's never about them. It's always about everybody else. And if you look at, like I said, Robert and them have a nice home. They don't care about that home. They use it for hosting. That's what they want. They want to host people. They care about people. They care about families, and they care about being a blessing to other people. So to hear you say that, it obviously speaks into how they came up with the mission statement for the company and what matters most to them.
Yep.
What do you think, Sean?
Well, I was going to have one more question to kind of close it out.
All right.
And I don't know how much you would want to share on this, but we've built the foundation with Kyle Trumbull and Dylan, and they can kind of talk about where they come from and what we're doing now. And you guys have too. Where do we go from here? Everybody, and you ask somebody what they see themselves doing in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, I like what Kyle, I like the quote that you said the other day. There's a difference with being complacent and content. Complacent, we're not complacent. We're content with where we're at and what we're doing, but obviously we want to grow as the Lord allows us to. And
Right.
and I think one of the things we want to do is tend to what we've been given, and not just tend to it, but tend to it really well. Take very good care of it, not only internally with systems and processes that we have, but we want to take really good care of the customers and the partnerships that we've been given. And take really good care of that. And then, I honestly think where we're at today, it sounds cliche, but I think the sky's the limit. I think in time and with our expertise and with what we know now, we could literally go after anything. And I think it's just being timely with that and exercising wisdom on when to do that, because we know how to do it. And but we have some high aspirations, I tell you that, of what the new years, upcoming years look like, and it's exciting.
Well, one of our core values is aligned, and without knowing it, you and Kyle Trumbull just kind of said the same thing. And Kyle Trumbull, what did he say? He said, I feel like we're just getting started. I know we've been in it for a while, but I feel like we're just getting started.
No, I'll agree with that. And I think the biggest thing, and it's been kind of prophesied over and said to us by other people, is just like, we just want to be multipliers. And I say as multipliers, obviously going back to what I said earlier, is about being good stewards of what we've been given. If you go back to the scripture in the parable of the talents, one person was given 5, 1 2, and the other one was 1. And the one that had the 5 and the 2, they multiplied what they had. But the one went and buried what he had, and he just gave it back to him and said, hey, at least I didn't lose it. I gave it back to you. And God took that 1 and he gave it to the one with the 5. And I think that speaks to, is like, God's not worried about your level of talent and how much he gives you, but will you multiply with what I gave you? And if God wants to give us a lot, then we've been entrusted with a lot. And we're not going to do it on our own. We trust the Lord to get us there. And so where this thing ends up, I don't know where it's going to end up. You know what I mean? Only God knows that right now. But I know that as long as he gives us something to continue to steward, we want to be a good steward of it, and we want to multiply it. And if that's the sky's the limit, then so be it. You know what I mean? And so I don't think there's a dollar value associated with it. I think it's just, hey, Lord, as long as you keep giving us to it, we're going to tend to it rightly. And I think we're big on legacy. Like I said, this is a big family. We just bought a new tract of land, and we went into, and it's Legacy Grove. And so we think about legacy, and legacy having lasting impact, and something that we want to have for our children and their children, and outlast us. I think that's what legacy is it wants to outlast us. I want, my lineage to see things that I'll never be able to see, and so I think that's why we keep doing what we do. But the main thing is God, if you've given it to us, we want to be faithful with what you've given us. And I think if you ask Kyle, he'll probably come up with a dollar value on it, because that's his visionary and that's what he likes to do. I say, hey, Lord, if you keep giving it to us, let us steward it right. Let us multiply what you gave us. And it's not always about us, and so we don't ever want to be greedy or stingy or hoard things for ourselves. It's to be a blessing to other people, because God has provided for us. I mean, probably every one of us in here can say God has taken care of us more than we probably ever thought we would be. But that doesn't mean we don't want more. The natural flesh desires more or anything. It's like God wants to provide a good living for us and take care of us, but He also wants to use us to be a blessing. And so, God, if You'll continue to use us to be a blessing, we'll continue to steward it the right way. And I think that's where I'd put it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of the day. I know you're both very busy, but it's fun.
Yeah, no, it's been
like
fun.
it.
I've enjoyed it.
I enjoy it, man.
Sean, I appreciate you for setting this up, man.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to hear the stories, from just to sit down for an hour and talk about it and just getting to sit and listen. I'm recording it. I'm going to put it out there, but I get to sit and listen too. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting. I like it.
I could definitely go a lot deeper on some of those things.
And I think this is something too. Is if you look at anyone's podcast, from the first one, even some older ones of like a Joe Rogan to now, they just get better with time.
Yep.
People, you get more comfortable in your own skin doing some things. You kind of the flow, and so this is something that's just going to get better. It's just going to grow.
The cameras and the microphones kind of faded out as it went on, didn't it?
Yeah.
We just started talking.
Yeah.
And as more comfortable as you can make things be. I mean, I love it. I'm glad you started it, and
This
it's
is really
one of
cool.
the priorities that we have on there. And I met with Rachel a few weeks ago. I was like, I want him to know he's got support. I want